Here we go, speed freaks. Today, we's painting Orc Deathcopters for Warhammer 40,000. So join the speed war and let's do some of it.
So here we have the Orc Deathcopters kit. It's one of the newer plastic kits for the Orc range, and it's a fairly straightforward kit. There's not too many parts, and there's fixed loadouts. So you've got the custom Mega Blaster for one Deathcopter, and the others have rockets. So just going to clip the parts out, and then I'm going to just give them a little bit of a clean up. And because they are such a straightforward kit, I'm going to convert some of them to give them different armaments. So to do that, I had to actually clip off one of the default arms so I can put the shoulder pad on, and then I can use an old boy arm to replace the original one. So then I spray everything in Wraithbone, and I'm going to start off with a Blood Angels Red. So these are going to be Evil Sunz Orcs. So using contrast, I just go across the whole model. I tend to do the contrast on these large panels one at a time, just to minimize the amount of pooling. So then I will go back with Black Legion and Wraithbone and clean up any of the overspill. It takes a little bit of time to do this, which is one of the drawbacks of contrast paint. So just be careful and go back over all the parts that you want to paint a different color. And then we're going to do some little detail colors here. Nazdreg Yellow is my normal detail color for Evil Sunz, and I'll also paint some parts in Creed Camo, some in black. I think this is Black Templar, and a couple of pieces I'm going to do white, including the big skull on one of the Deathcopters there. So I use Apothecary white to shade that white down. So next I'm going to do the metals over the black. So Leadbelcher is the main one that I do, and I try to keep fairly random in the application of metals to give a good variety. So the Leadbelcher first, and then I'll use some Balthazar Gold to do some smaller pieces, and then some Screaming Bell to do some of the little parts, mostly cables and pipes and things. So just pick out all that detail. It takes a little while, but I really like the assorted, thrown together effect that having lots of different metals in your model looks. Then I take some Agrax Earthshade and just heavily wash all of the metals to give it sort of a dirty, grimy look, as well as shading the recesses down. Next I use some bright contrast colors like Talassar Blue to pick out all of the various hoses and cables and things all over the model. There's some Warp Lightning for the green. And it just gives it, adds to that random thrown together effect. And then I'll use some muted down colors for the pipes and hoses and various bits. So I've got some Wildwood there, which I'm going to use for one of the pipes and the leather on one of the seats. And I've got some other colors like some Gore-Grunta fur for this little leather strap that's holding some of these exhausts together, and then some Black Templar as well. So I'll change up the seats and do them different, because just like all of my models to look very different to every other one. Then I'm going to use some Dark Angels Green to do the little console display that's on these Deathcopters. And now I can start on the pilots. So I use Plaguebearer Flesh as a base coat for my Orc skin. I like the sort of yellowy green effect. And then I go over the top of that, in this case with Creed Camo. So that Plaguebearer Flesh sort of shows through on the highlights. So don't forget to do the heads, which I've sub-assembled just to make it a little bit easier to get onto the details. And I can add some contrast medium to the Creed Camo just to vary up the skin tones between the boys, so again they don't have exactly the same tint. Then I use a lot of neutral browns and blacks and greys to do their clothes. So this is some Black Templar going onto his shirt. Again, sticking with the theme of making every boy and every model different in some way. I've got some Wildwood here for his pants. So I tend to do the pants, the shirt and the leather all different colours. This is snakebite leather on some of these parts, and then I'll go back with the lead belcher on some of the metal plates and things that are all over the model. Got some Retributor armor here for the tang of the knife, and again, like the other metal parts, just give that a good wash with Agrax Earthshade. Next I've got some Skeleton Horde to paint their nails and claws, also the fangs for the models that are bearing their teeth. And then for any open mouth orcs, I use Shyish Purple to paint their gums. And then I use some Thin Down Blood Angels Red for their tongues. Some of them have some coloured armour plates, so I'm going to do those in Blood Angels Red as well. So the casing on one of the boys' sluggers and some of the shoulder pads that I don't just do entirely in metal, I'll do in Blood Angels Red. Next, for the lenses of the boys' goggles, I'll use some Talassar Blue for one of them. There's another one with these little welding goggles, so I'll do that in Flesh Tearers Red. And I just thought that I needed something a bit different, a bit of detail on these models, so going to put some patterns on some of the larger armor plates. So I'm going to do a checker on this one, so I'm going to start off with Wraithbone, making a band at the end of the nose of this Deffkopter. Then for some other parts I'm going to do some flames, like on this boy's shoulder pads, so just do some wiggly lines to represent flames in Wraithbone. Then for the checkers, I thought I would try to trace out a pattern to make it a bit neater, so I'm just doing that with some Agrax Earthshade, just making some squares. I'm not measuring up or anything, just doing it by eye because it's probably orkier that way if it's not entirely straight. And then I'm going to go back with some Black Templar and fill in the alternating squares there. So I had to go back a couple of times just to neaten it up a little bit. As I said, you don't have to go too over the top because it's probably law accurate for it to be a little bit messy. But yeah, just take your time and be patient and go through all that. And then with the flames, I use Nazdreg Yellow to colour in those flames. The yellow over the red means you don't have to be too careful with this. You can just splash it on, it doesn't show through the red. So the last thing I have to do is assemble, so just use some super glue. Make sure you varnish it first because otherwise it can rub off if you're pressing hard. Some of the parts, like the top of the rotor, I need to go back and clean them up and attach it to the base like that. And I'm just going to add some tufts as well, and we're all good to go. So this is what they look like all finished, and I'm pretty happy with them. They look suitably ramshackle. Each one has a lot of character and flavour, especially like the little flight stand things. They're pretty cool with the little sign and the little flying squig. And I'm really keen to get these guys out into the Cult of Speed.